An alien assassin targets Earth's leaders, but humanity's secret weapon, a sniper unmatched in skill, strikes back, turning the hunter into the hunted. The Galactic Empire had always prided itself on its efficiency. For centuries, it had expanded across the galaxy, assimilating or annihilating any resistance with surgical precision. Earth, a backwater planet in a quiet arm of the Milky Way, was supposed to be just another conquest. But humanity had proven surprisingly resilient, fighting back against initial probes with an unyielding defiance that puzzled and frustrated the Empire's strategists. From the ornate throne room aboard the Imperial flagship, the Emperor, a towering figure draped in shimmering robes, listened as his advisors laid out their grim reports. Every covert operation to destabilize Earth's governments had failed. Alien infiltrators were exposed before they could sow chaos, and human resilience seemed to intensify with every setback. The Emperor's voice boomed with cold authority. "If they refuse to bow, we will strike at the head. Deploy the assassins." The assassins were not ordinary soldiers. They were the Empire's ultimate weapons, bred and trained for stealth, precision, and terror. Silent and invisible, they operated in the shadows, dismantling opposition from within before their enemies even knew they were under attack. Their mission was clear: eliminate Earth's leaders, destabilize its defenses, and leave its people vulnerable to invasion. The first assassin touched down in the dead of night, his craft cloaked and undetectable by Earth's primitive technology. His target was a high-ranking general who had been pivotal in organizing resistance efforts. From the assassin's perspective, humans were prey, slow, predictable, and entirely outclassed by the Empire's advanced technology. With his weapon calibrated and his route planned, the assassin moved like a phantom through the dense urban landscape. But Earth was not as defenseless as it appeared. Humanity had learned to adapt. As reports of mysterious deaths began to surface, panic spread among world leaders. Key figures disappeared without a trace, their homes and offices showing no signs of forced entry. The assassins were living up to their fearsome reputation, and yet, something felt off. A faint trail of inconsistencies in the assassins' movements caught the attention of Earth's military analysts. Patterns began to emerge, subtle clues that hinted at a calculated enemy rather than random chaos. In a secure underground bunker, a council of military leaders reviewed the data. "We're dealing with something beyond our understanding," one officer said grimly. "Conventional forces won't cut it. We need someone who thinks like them, unpredictable, precise, and relentless." The room fell silent as a name was suggested, a name that carried weight like a loaded rifle: Shadowpoint. Shadowpoint was a man of few words and fewer public appearances. His reputation was built on results, deadly, efficient results. Some called him the best sniper in human history, others whispered his name like a warning. He operated in shadows, and his methods were as unorthodox as they were effective. The military had reached out to him before, but Shadowpoint worked on his terms, not theirs. The message they sent to him was simple: "Earth needs you." And for reasons known only to him, Shadowpoint answered. When the assassins struck again, they found themselves hunted. Shadowpoint's first mission was to protect a prominent scientist whose research could tip the balance in humanity's favor. The assassin moved through the darkness with deadly intent, his weapon primed for the kill. But Shadowpoint had anticipated every move. Hidden in the ruins of a bombed-out structure, he waited, his rifle aimed with the patience of a predator. The moment the assassin revealed itself, the sniper's finger tightened on the trigger, and the alien collapsed, its cloaking technology failing as it fell. Word of the assassin's death spread quickly, and with it came a sense of hope. For the first time, humanity had struck back against an enemy that seemed unstoppable. Shadowpoint became a symbol, not just of resistance, but of humanity's refusal to surrender. But the assassins were relentless, and the Emperor, furious at the failure of his perfect soldiers, ordered more to be sent. This was no longer a covert operation, it was a war of attrition. Shadowpoint knew the stakes better than anyone. He didn't fight for glory or recognition. His mission was simple: to protect Earth, no matter the cost. Every kill was calculated, every shot an act of precision and purpose. He understood the enemy in a way no one else could, seeing through their advanced technology to the overconfidence that made them vulnerable. Where others saw terror, Shadowpoint saw opportunity. Shadowpoint's arrival shifted the balance in ways the Galactic Empire had not anticipated. The first assassin's death was not an isolated incident, it marked the beginning of a calculated, methodical campaign to dismantle their covert operation on Earth. For the assassins, the change was immediate. Their once flawless missions, carried out in silence and shadow, were now plagued with unexpected failures. They were no longer the hunters, they were being hunted. Shadowpoint's methods were unlike anything the assassins had encountered. He relied not on overwhelming technology but on patience, precision, and an uncanny ability to predict their every move. His presence was a ghostly shadow in their calculations, an unseen force that turned their perfect plans into fatal missteps. The assassins, engineered for efficiency, found themselves unnerved by his tactics. They relied on cloaking and advanced weapons to dominate, but Shadowpoint countered them with human ingenuity and a mind honed by years of operating under impossible conditions. The first coordinated strike against Shadowpoint came swiftly. 3 assassins were deployed to eliminate him after the failure of the first operative. Their mission was simple: remove the human sniper and restore the Empire's dominance. But Shadowpoint had already anticipated their next move. He had studied their patterns, analyzed their methods, and devised a counter-strategy that played on their overconfidence. One by one, the assassins fell. Shadowpoint used the terrain to his advantage, drawing them into carefully laid traps. In the dense urban sprawl of an abandoned city, he dismantled their team with surgical precision. The assassins' cloaking devices were no match for his thermal imaging techniques, and their advanced weapons could not protect them from a sniper who struck before they even realized they were exposed. Shadowpoint didn't waste bullets. Every shot counted, and every kill sent a clear message: Earth was not to be underestimated. The Galactic Empire's response was swift and ruthless. They sent an even larger contingent of assassins, this time equipped with counter-sniper technology designed to track and eliminate threats like Shadowpoint. Their weapons were enhanced, their tactics refined, but they underestimated the resilience of the human spirit. Shadowpoint adapted just as quickly, incorporating their advancements into his own strategies. He turned their tech against them, using captured equipment to learn their weaknesses and exploit their vulnerabilities. This wasn't just a fight for survival, it was a battle of minds. Shadowpoint knew that defeating the assassins required more than raw firepower. He began a psychological campaign, spreading fear among his enemies. False trails and misdirection led the assassins into ambushes, while subtle clues left at the scene of their defeats planted seeds of doubt in their minds. The once cocky operatives began to falter, their precision eroded by the creeping unease that they were being outsmarted by a primitive species. As the assassins struggled to regain control, Shadowpoint expanded his efforts. He recruited a small team of human operatives, training them in his methods and equipping them with captured alien tech. These soldiers were not ordinary troops. They were shadow operatives, specialists in guerrilla warfare and counterintelligence. Shadowpoint's team became a force multiplier, extending his reach and amplifying the pressure on the assassins. The Galactic Empire's elite operatives, once considered unstoppable, found themselves outmaneuvered by humans who refused to follow conventional rules of engagement. Each successful mission bolstered humanity's confidence. Shadowpoint's name became a symbol of defiance, whispered among the terrified assassins and hailed as a hero by those he protected. But for Shadowpoint, the mission was never about recognition. He worked tirelessly, pushing his limits to ensure Earth's survival. The assassins may have been superior in technology, but they lacked one critical element: the human spirit. Shadowpoint embodied that spirit, a relentless determination to fight for freedom, no matter the cost. The assassins, now desperate, attempted to adapt. They abandoned their usual tactics of precision and stealth, resorting to more aggressive strategies in an attempt to overwhelm Shadowpoint and his team. But this shift only played into his hands. Shadowpoint understood the value of unpredictability and exploited their desperation to gain the upper hand. Every move the assassins made was countered with devastating effectiveness. By now, the Galactic Empire was beginning to grasp the enormity of their miscalculation. They had underestimated humanity, assuming that technological superiority would ensure their dominance. But Shadowpoint had proven that the will to fight, combined with ingenuity and adaptability, could overcome even the most advanced adversary. For every assassin sent to Earth, humanity sent back a clear message: you are not invincible. The assassins were no longer an unseen terror. Their failures had made them vulnerable, their once flawless reputation now marred by defeats at the hands of a single human and his growing team. But as the assassins adapted, so did Shadowpoint. His approach evolved from a solitary fight into a global strategy, one that leveraged not just his skills but the collective ingenuity and determination of humanity. Shadowpoint's victories weren't just about eliminating targets, they were about sending a message. Each operation revealed another layer of the assassin's tactics and technology, exposing weaknesses that could be exploited. Through captured gear and careful analysis, Shadowpoint and his team identified patterns in how the assassins communicated and moved. They discovered a crucial detail: the assassins relied heavily on pheromone-based signals to coordinate their actions. It was a biological vulnerability, one that Shadowpoint weaponized with ruthless efficiency. Using this knowledge, Shadowpoint began to disrupt their operations in ways the Empire couldn't anticipate. His team deployed synthetic pheromones to mislead the assassins, drawing them into traps or forcing them into confusion and disarray. The assassins, engineered for precision and efficiency, found themselves making critical errors under the stress of manipulated signals. For the first time, they were not just losing, they were panicking. This psychological warfare extended beyond the assassins themselves. Shadowpoint knew that the Empire was watching, evaluating every failure and recalibrating their strategies. He used this to his advantage, creating a narrative of human resilience that could not be ignored. His team left calculated traces of their victories for the Empire to uncover: a sabotaged weapon here, a dismantled cloaking device there. Each clue reinforced the image of humanity as a force that thrived under pressure, capable of turning even the Empire's most advanced technology against them. The assassins' failures forced the Emperor to escalate the conflict. No longer content with covert strikes, he authorized direct intervention. Warships began appearing in Earth's orbit, deploying drones and mechanized soldiers to support the failing assassins. The Empire's intent was clear: crush humanity's resistance before it could grow into a larger threat. But this escalation only strengthened Shadowpoint's resolve. With the assassins losing ground, Shadowpoint shifted his focus to countering the larger threat. He coordinated with global military forces, sharing his knowledge and training others in his methods. It wasn't just about sniping anymore, it was about turning humanity's collective strength into a weapon the Empire couldn't counter. Shadowpoint's influence extended beyond the battlefield. His presence inspired hope, rallying people from all walks of life to contribute to the fight. Engineers repurposed alien technology, hackers disrupted the Empire's communications, and civilians organized underground networks to support resistance efforts. What had started as a one-man mission was now a coordinated global movement, united by the belief that Earth could stand against the Galactic Empire. The assassins, once the pinnacle of the Empire's power, were now a liability. Their failures had exposed the Empire's overconfidence, revealing the cracks in their seemingly invincible facade. Shadowpoint exploited this shift, using the assassins' desperation to his advantage. He turned their aggression against them, drawing them into high-risk scenarios where their advanced technology was rendered useless by human ingenuity and adaptability. As the conflict intensified, Shadowpoint faced his most challenging mission yet. A high-ranking assassin, genetically enhanced and equipped with cutting-edge countermeasures, was deployed with one goal: eliminate Shadowpoint at any cost. This assassin was unlike any before, designed specifically to counter the tactics that had made Shadowpoint so effective. But Shadowpoint was ready. He had studied his enemy, anticipating their next move with the same precision he brought to every mission. The showdown between the two operatives was not just a test of skill but a battle of wills, a confrontation that would determine the future of Earth's resistance. Shadowpoint didn't flinch. He waited for the perfect moment, his mind as steady as his aim, and when the opportunity came, he struck with the precision that had made him a legend. The enhanced assassin fell, its defeat signaling the end of the Empire's confidence in its covert operations. Shadow Point had not only survived, he had won. The assassins were broken, their effectiveness dismantled by a human who refused to give up. For the Empire, the cost of continuing the fight against Earth was becoming untenable. And for humanity, Shadow Point's victories were proof that even the most advanced enemy could be defeated with determination, ingenuity, and an unyielding belief in their ability to fight back. The Empire's frustration had reached its breaking point. The assassins, their elite tools of precision and terror, had been reduced to symbols of failure. The Emperor, unwilling to accept defeat, issued a final order, the deployment of an invasion fleet. The mission was clear: overwhelm Earth's defenders, eliminate Shadowpunt, and assert the Empire's dominance once and for all. What they didn't realize was that Earth was no longer the disorganized, vulnerable planet they had targeted. Shadowpunt's victories had galvanized humanity into a force the Empire had never faced before. The invasion began with the arrival of colossal warships in Earth's atmosphere, their size and firepower dwarfing anything humanity could muster. Drones flooded the skies, and mechanized troops descended upon major cities, wreaking havoc and spreading fear. But this was not the Earth the Empire had expected to find. Thanks to Shadowpoint's foresight and preparation, humanity was ready. Shadowpunt's global network sprang into action, executing a meticulously planned counteroffensive. Every strike by the Empire was met with resistance that was both unpredictable and devastatingly effective. Civilian resistance networks sabotaged enemy supply lines, while military forces used advanced tactics honed under Shadowpoint's guidance. Humanity's ability to adapt and innovate was on full display, turning the Empire's overwhelming might into a disadvantage. Every inch of ground the invaders gained came at a steep cost. Shadowpunt himself became the focal point of the resistance, not because he sought glory, but because his presence on the battlefield inspired those around him. He led by example, his calm precision under fire a stark contrast to the chaos of war. Whether coordinating large-scale operations or taking out critical targets with a single shot, Shadowpoint was a constant reminder that humanity would not break. The Empire, desperate to regain control, deployed its most advanced weapon, an experimental command unit designed to counter human resistance. This unit, a hybrid of machine and biology, was programmed with every known countermeasure against Shadowpoint's tactics. It led the final push into a heavily fortified human stronghold, aiming to crush the resistance and eliminate Shadowpoint once and for all. The battle was fierce, with the stronghold's defenders outnumbered and outgunned. Shadowpunt, recognizing the critical importance of this engagement, made his move. Using his intimate knowledge of the terrain and the enemy's weaknesses, he devised a strategy that turned the stronghold into a trap. As the command unit advanced, Shadowpunt orchestrated a series of precision strikes that dismantled the Empire's forces piece by piece. The hybrid commander, though formidable, fell victim to the same flaw that had doomed the assassins: overconfidence. In a final act of defiance, Shadowpoint confronted the hybrid unit directly. It was a battle of precision versus brute force, human ingenuity against the Empire's arrogance. Shadowpoint's shot, taken with unerring accuracy, struck a critical vulnerability in the hybrid's design, bringing the unit down and crippling the Empire's command structure. The victory was not just a tactical success, it was a turning point in the war. The Empire, realizing the cost of continuing the invasion, began to withdraw. Their forces retreated, leaving behind the wreckage of their failed campaign. Earth, against all odds, had stood its ground. Shadowpunt, weary but unbroken, watched as the last of the Empire's ships disappeared into the sky. For him, the fight had never been about glory or recognition. It had always been about survival, about protecting a world that refused to bow. In the aftermath, humanity began to rebuild. The scars of the invasion were deep, but so was the resolve of its people. Shadowpunt's legacy became a symbol of what humanity could achieve when united against a common threat. The Empire, once thought invincible, had learned a harsh lesson: Earth was not a target, it was a fortress, defended by a species that thrived in the face of impossible odds. As Shadowpoint disappeared back into the shadows, his mission complete, one truth remained clear: humanity was a force to be reckoned with. They had turned the Empire's most advanced weapons against them, fought with resilience and ingenuity, and proved that no enemy, no matter how powerful, could conquer their spirit. The galaxy would never see Earth the same way again.